That's what I'm doing. Okay. I guess that's right. What do I know? Okay. I think we have, we're just about done. I want to show you guys something. I've been playing around. I am learning little by little. I'm an old dog, but I can be taught new tricks. Maybe. So you can see that green in the background there. Yeah. I tried something with that. And let's see if I can share that to you. Let's see if I can upload this, and let's see. Okay, let's open that. And close. And let's take a look at this. What do you think? Hey, what do you think of this? Here I am in my virtual reality. It's pretty weird in here. It's like I'm on some kind of psychedelic experience. It's pretty weird, yeah. I kind of like this. It looks weird, and it's a lot of fun. Hey, black-eyed dog. Yeah, I thought that was pretty trippy too. I'm gonna have to try some more with this. I need to get my setup a little bit better. Right now I'm actually. Hey, sure. How you doing? Cut down on the angle enough so that it's the way I want it. La La Land. Let's see if I bring my microphone up a little bit closer. Maybe that will give me better sound. How does that sound? There, I think maybe that's about the right level of sound here. And yeah, it's kind of a freaky experience there. The background music. No, I did not. Visuals. Wow. And me floating. Yes, we're having a shared psychedelic experience here. So anyway, I wanted to check this out. Yeah, so anyway, that was that. Yeah, I was just playing around a little bit there. Yeah, I got this green piece of cloth here, and hung it up from a scaffolding thing, from a rack type of thing there, so that I could play around with the chroma key. Now, as far as I can tell, there's no built-in chroma key green screen type of whatever built into HAPS. But if you watch the HAPS broadcast of the week broadcast, you come up around the 25-minute mark. Okay, cool. Thank you. Yeah. Wow. Broadcast of the week. Well, maybe that will encourage people to drop by, and that would be nice. I think you would have to use an outside programming Yes. Yeah, that's what I did. I was using OBS Studio or OBS. Yeah. Open Broadcasting Studio or something like that, OBS. And by using that, it's got this chroma key built into it. And I can actually use it as a virtual camera so that I could run OBS and use the chroma key in the background, and then use OBS doing that as my camera. And so I could do that, but I think for, at least for what I'm doing right now, it would be more distracting than it would be anything else. So maybe, yeah, I mean, it's a little complicated. It's not too much once you get it set up. That's why it's taken me a long time. I've had this OBS software for almost as long as I've been using HAPS, and I've been learning tiny little increments at a time, just trying to check it out. Because I mean, honestly, I love Haps. I hope it does well, but I'm kind of hedging my bets in the case that it goes. I mean, Periscope. A lot of people were heavily invested into Periscope, thinking that it was going to last for a long time, and it was the platform to go with, and it disappeared. So who knows what's going to happen? I figured that the more I know about broadcasting and the different software and options that are available, the better off it's going to be for me. I mean, this is purely just for shits and grins, I'm not doing it for anything except the fun of it. But then again, that I like learning things, and I think that's just because Twitter wanted to monetize the product. Probably, I've noticed that YouTube. I got a thing from YouTube because I multicast to YouTube. Haps is already monetized, yeah. YouTube is very monetized, but YouTube is up there. Whoop. Did you guys lose me? Maybe you lost me for a minute. That's okay. Anyway, I think I'm back. I got a thing from YouTube saying that even streams that weren't being monetized, they could add their own commercials into the basically any video that's hosted on YouTube. They can tag their own commercials in there. Yeah, can't stay tonight, but good luck to everyone. Okay, well, thanks for dropping by. Yeah, yes, I can. Yeah, which I mean, it's a free service. It's they're allowing us to put the stuff up there, and it takes a lot of resources to host that stuff and to stream it out and so on. So I mean, they need, it's a business. They need a profit margin and so on. And since Periscope was owned by Twitter, they just rebuilt it on Twitter so they can monetize, right? Yeah. Yeah. So is that like that? So Twitter, what's it called? Twitter Live. But then there's also Twitter Spaces or something like that. And then Instagram has Reels now or something. I don't know. Everybody's kind of getting into this. And then I've been, I was interested in checking out Clubhouse, but that's only audio. I thought that might be interesting, but didn't really like it. And there's another thing called Caffeine that, again, the atmosphere there was a little different. Yeah, it's okay for music. Absolutely. Yeah. So if you're a musician, that would be a good place. Of course, anymore, people have gotten so used to watching music on YouTube videos, right? These artists release their music on YouTube videos and so on to promote them. People just, music videos are so popular. I mean, it's good for a change of pace or when you can't watch, but I mean, for most people's everyday consumption, it's like, yeah, I want to see something. I want some visual stimulus as well as the audio, right? I go to Clubhouse to hear noted classical artists for piano. Okay, cool. Yeah. I've mostly been dropping in on, conversations about different topics that are interesting, and that's fine too. I mean, the audio is fine. It's just, I mean, whatever it is, yeah, so music actually makes more sense. Music makes more sense. That's true. Because even if it's a conversation, I kind of want to see the people that are talking. I like that visual feedback. I like to see their facial expressions when they're making some kind of a statement. I like to see body language. Music, yeah, it's interesting, but still, the music is what carries the message. The music is what carries the emotion. So yeah. You want that audio visual presentation? That's right. Yeah. I guess I'm a product of the television generation. I don't know. Grew up with TV. But yeah, I was in like how old was I? I think I might have been at least upper elementary, if not junior high school, before we got a color television. We had black and white. Of course, we were fairly poor, so yeah, we had black and white TV. So I remember the first time I saw The Wizard of Oz, and remember watching The Wizard of Oz several times in black and white, and then the first time I saw it in color, it's like, wow. Don't need a TV to listen to it. Yeah, exactly. Right. You don't need, the music is in and of itself enough. Right. Yeah, conversations with, with people, presentations. Yeah, I like the visual feedback that you get from the video. Yeah. I need the whole kit and caboodle. It's interesting. Yeah. Music, the audio is enough, and yet people still pay top dollar to go to a live concert, right? So there is something special about the live experience, so I guess the TV, or the music videos are somewhere in between, right? You get the purely sound experience, or you have the whole live experience, and then somewhere in between you've got the music videos and so on. I remember MTV when it first came out. First video on MTV was "Videos Killed the Radio Star" by the Buggles. Well, live would be best, but I can't afford to go like the Pantages Theater to watch a concert. Yeah. For me, though, I tell you, jazz. I love jazz when it's the live experience, but I don't think I have any jazz recordings. To me, jazz, if it's not improvised, if it's not live and improvised, it's just not the same experience. I've listened to it occasionally, but like the same recording, I will rarely listen to again and again. I'll listen to some segments where it's like, oh, listen to this. I remember these choices that he makes, and it's nice to have that, that record of it, the recording, and say, oh, see what he did here. This is really brilliant, and so on. But yeah, jazz, yeah. Now I only like jazz in New Orleans. Okay. Yeah, New Orleans jazz is that's special. There's a lot of different kind of jazz. I like a lot of different kinds of jazz. There are jazzy things. So like Peanuts, Linus and Lucy, by Vince Guaraldi, very famous. That it's jazzy. I can listen to that over and over again. I love that. So I guess it depends on the kind of music. Yeah, a lot of music I don't want to hear the recording. I want to hear it live. A lot of music, the recording is great. I want to hear it's exactly the same over and over again. But the jazz that I most enjoy, yeah, I never want to hear it exactly the same twice. I want to see what kind of variations they can throw in, and still make it brilliant. Jazz changes depending on who's playing the song. Yeah, exactly. That's the whole point, right? Yeah. And not only on who's playing it, but the mood that they're in at the time that they're playing it. These improvisations. To me, that's what the best jazz is all about. Is the improvisations. And today I feel like twisting it this way, and maybe yesterday I would twisted it the other way. Yeah. It's all a lot of fun. It's all a lot of fun. Music is a good time, right? Music is a good time. Let's see. How we doing here? Okay. All right. Let's see what we got here. Oh, while we're waiting for other people to join, I do have a game prepared. Yes, I do. I have a game prepared. Um, and I think it's a pretty good one. It's got one of those 7 answer type quizzes. So if we get a forum here, a quorum, where we get a bunch of people, forget about the proper vocabulary word there. If we get ourselves a good bunch of people to play, then we'll play ourselves a nice game here. But in the meantime, I thought I'd tell you a Japanese folk tale. This one is called Mouse Teeth. Mouse Teeth. Okay. Do you know what millet is? Millet is in this story. So millet is it's they must really like mice there. Yeah, I mean, yeah, they're Japanese are generally, I mean, traditionally. Now things have changed, like everywhere else in the world. But traditionally, where these stories come from, they were very close to nature, and yeah, so there are a lot of stories with animals. A lot of bird stories. Raccoons are very prominent in Japanese folk tales. Um, yeah. But yeah, mice are popular. I mean, obviously mice where there are humans living, you're going to find mice and so on. So anyway, millet is a small grain that you can grind up, into a flour, millet flour, right? As opposed to wheat flour, you can make flour out of millet and make dumplings and noodles and things like that out of it too. But anyway, they must, yeah. So there was a time, a while back when there was a weasel, and this weasel, thought, wait, hey, I'm gonna grow some millet, and I'll put it away for the winter time, right? Smart weasel. Okay. How the weasel is going to do, I don't know. But anyway, that's the way the story goes, right? So this weasel is going to grow some millet and store it for the winter time, right? And so in the spring, he's plowing up the soil, turning it over, breaking up the clods and so on, getting ready, and prepares the soil and plants the millet seeds, right? And he was very careful, took good care of the seeds and so on, right? And in the fall, harvest time, his field was full of millet, right? Growing everywhere. He did a good job, right? The heads of the grain were full of millet, and it looked like a fox's tail, just full of millet and so on, right? And so the weasel was very proud of himself and very happy. And so he says, all right, tomorrow I'm going to come back and I'm going to harvest my millet. Okay. So the next day he came back to the field and it was gone. All his millet was gone. And so he's like, wait, hold on. Who took my millet? I worked very hard. I grew this up myself. I took care of it. I prepared I did everything. Who would have the audacity? Who would dare to steal my millet? Right. And of course, he was very angry. So he searched, from house to house, and looking for clues, looking for spilled millet seed or whatever, and so on. And he was walking along, until he finally came to the burrow of an animal, and he heard a couple of voices talking. Yeah. Oh, last night's millet, that was really delicious, wasn't it? Yeah, it was so tasty. Last night's millet cake, right? That millet cake that we had last night was really good, right? So we what millet cake, right? Um, and as the weasels listened there, a small mouse came out from the burrow, right? And it was just singing. Oh, it was so tasty, last night's millet cake, right? Oh, it was so tasty, the millet cake that we had last night. And another little mouse came out, and he was singing the same thing. It was so tasty, last night's millet cake, last night's millet cake tasted so good, and so on. And then a big mouse came out, right? Said, "Shh, be quiet, don't sing that song here," right? Because this was the mother mouse; those were her two children that had come out before, right? And the mother mouse said, "Shh, don't sing like that. Sing that song out here, not out in the wide world where everybody can hear you." Oh, thank you for the Super Heart Award. Okay, and so the weasel figured out, aha, right? So here's where my millet went, right? And so he started digging on the other side of the burrow, right? So we went around to the back and dug out where the door was, but on the other side, he started digging in until he hit, and then he found a pile of millet, right? At the very back, because he went in the back way. So at the very back of the mouse burrow was a pile of millet. All right. And so, of course, the weasel, very angry now, right? Aha, okay, I've caught the thief, right? And he's like, grabs the mother mouse and said, "Why did you steal my millet? I'm the one that knew it. I'm the one that prepared the field. I'm the one that took care of it, right? And then you come along and steal it. Why did you do that?" And he was, the weasel was so angry, he was ready to kill the mouse. And the mouse, of course, was scared and was pleading for her life and said, apologizing. "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I wanted to feed my mouse. I wanted my mouse. I wanted to feed my children. I wanted to feed my children. I understand it was yours. It was wrong. You can take away the rest. Please forgive me." Right. And so he was still angry, but he said, "All right, I'm not going to kill you." Right. He was still angry. He got the rest of his millet back. He was still thinking about killing her, but the mouse said, "Please, I got to take care of my babies. Don't kill me." And the weasel, so I won't kill you, but this is just unacceptable. This is just terrible. Tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to cut off your teeth so that you can't steal any more millet, right? So he got his saw and he was ready to cut off all her teeth. And she said, "Yes, you're right. I did, what I did was wrong. It's your right to cut off my teeth. But if I lose all my teeth, I can't gnaw a hole through the wall of the storage building at the human's house, right? Just 2 teeth would be very much appreciated. Just leave me 2 teeth, right? Just 2. Don't take them all. Right? If you take them all, then I can't get in. I can't do anything. But just leave me 2 teeth." So the weasel understood, that. I mean, take all the mouse's teeth. I mean, you're basically dooming the mouse, right? So he's all right. I feel I'll leave you 2 teeth on the top, right? Just the 2 top front teeth, and 2 on the bottom, right? So you just got 4 teeth there, right? Just the 2 on the top and the 2 on the bottom. The rest of them I'm going to cut off. And so that's exactly what he did. So that's why, to this day, mice only have 2 teeth on the top and 2 teeth on the bottom, because the weasel cut off all their other teeth because the mouse stole the millet. Okay. Yep. Hey, I mean, that's the way the Japanese, explain it. Like I said, I told you the story of the bird that had its tongue cut in 2, and they explained, they got a folk tale to explain, why that was, and they've got there's a story about why dog always raise their back leg when they pee, you know. They got all these stories to explain all these different things that animals do, right? You know, and you know, they got another story. I told the story too about why lizards' tails will break off. You know, when you try and grab a lizard by the tail will snap off and the lizard can escape. You know, and so on. And you know, all these different things. Why swallows and sparrows eat different things and so on. All the different stuff. The Japanese folk tales that describe all that stuff, right? You know, so did you hear my story about the dog? Why the dog raises his leg? It's so silly. You know, so originally dogs only had 3 legs, right? You know, a lot of animals had 4 legs, but dogs only had 3 legs. And you know, the dog said, "Hey, you know, this is bad. You know, I can't really run like I should. You know, with only 3 legs." I really need 4 legs. And so he went to God and said, God, give me another leg. And God said, well, hey, you know, I gave out all my legs. I don't have any legs left over for you. Right. You know, and so the dog said, come on, you can do something. You're God, right? Go borrow one or go take one from the cat or go take one from the mouse or something. Right. And anyway, God asked them and they said, no, they all said, no, no, no. Right. But finally, you know, God was about to give up when the little wooden stool piped up and said, hey, you know, I don't run anywhere. I just sit here, you know, and I can stand on just 3 legs. So you can have my 4th leg. You can have one of my 4th legs, right? And so God took the 4th leg from the little wooden stool and shaped that into a dog's leg and put it on the back of the dog for his 4th leg. And so that's why to this day, when dogs pee, they always raise that 4th leg because it's very special, right? They want to show respect and gratitude for God making that effort to, you know, to give them their 4th leg, right? So now all this stuff, they just explain all these weird things. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, you know, and lizards tails, you know, same kind of story about the lizards. You know, a lot of animals have tails, right? And you know, lizards didn't have tails, but they wanted tails. All right, so they went to God and say, "Hey, God, how about some tails for us?" And God said, "Hey, I got no tails left. What can I do?" You know, and so the lizard said, "Well, you know, ask some other animals." And so again, God asked a bunch of other animals, and they all said, "No, no, no." And he went to the humans, and the humans said, "Oh, sure, yeah, you can have my tail. We don't. This tail's useless. I don't need this tail." So the human gave the tail, and God made it into a lizard tail and put it on the lizards, right? And the lizards are very happy. But to this day, whenever a human acts like they want the tail back, you know, they'll grab a lizard by the tail because they want that tail back. The lizard will just break off the tail and give it back and run away. Say, okay, yeah, you want your tail back, you can have it, right? I've had many in my kitchen by my cat. His presents for me. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But anyway, yeah. So lizard loses the tail because, hey, you know, actually belonged to the human, so give it back. Yeah. And then there's a story. I told you the story also about why crows are black, right? Long, long ago, all the birds in the world were white. And the birds went to God and they said, hey, God, this is not working out. You know, if we're white, we're sitting in the tree and, you know, all our enemies can spot us very easily, right? You know, I'm crouching down in the grass and you know they can still see me, right? You know, all the birds were white and they were complaining and said, look, you got to let us have colors here. And so God said, all right, you can have colors, but you've got 1 week to get colored, right? Go to the owl. The owl has all the paints, right? Mr. Owl will paint you up just the way you want, right? You choose your colors, but you only have 1 week. After 1 week, deals off, you are the way you are. after a week, right? And so the birds, they all go, right, and um, the warbler chooses green, to blend in with the trees and so on. This one, the sparrow chooses brown because it's very modest and so on, and the kingfisher very proud and bright and uses multicolors and all this stuff, right? And most of all the birds quickly chose their colors except for the crow. The crow was like so proud he couldn't decide which one. Oh, what color should I be? What color should I be? No colors are good enough for me, right? Type of thinking. And so it got to be the last day, and the other bird said, "Hey, crow, you better get your colors, or you're going to be too late." Said, "Oh," the crow said, "Oh my God, I better get going," right? And so he goes to the owl and says, "Hey, owl, okay, let's see, paint me green," right? And so the owl paints it green. He says, "No, you know what? I changed my mind. Paint me this. Paint me brown." All right, you're brown. No, this is not right either. Anyway, he kept changing his mind. Owl kept running back and forth to get the different colors of paint, and so on, grabbing the paint and painting the crow, and then no, he didn't like it, so had to go and grab another one. Anyway, kind of flustered, running back and forth, grabbed his paint. And at one point, the owl trips over a can of black paint, and black paint spills all over the place and covers the crow in black paint. And wouldn't you know it, just at that time, midnight, or not midnight, the sun went down or whatever. Anyway, the time was up, right? That was the time limit. And so the crow right at that time was covered with black. And that's why to this day, all crows are black, because they waited till the last minute, got paint spilled on them, and so now they're black. Yeah. So these are some of the Japanese come up with all these reasons why things work the way they do. I guess white dove slept through the whole thing. Yeah, the white dove is like, hey, I'm good. God said white, I'm good with white. God knows best. Makes sense. Yeah. I mean, there's all kinds of stories. Hello there. My wife just got home. All kinds of stories about why things are the way they are. I got a whole collection of stories about the animal world, right? So there's one about why snakes have eyes. Why that needs to be explained, I don't know, but they have an explanation for that. But Japanese folk tales, there's folk tales about the tanuki, which is kind of a raccoon-looking animal. It's not quite a raccoon. Sometimes it's translated as raccoon dog, but that doesn't quite give you a true picture of what a tanuki is. But probably the closest thing that we have is a raccoon, but it's not a raccoon. Anyway, they're supposedly a magical animal that can change shapes and so on. They can even change into humans, look like humans and so on. So I'm gonna tell some stories like that because those are very popular, especially the children. Children seem to like those kind of stories and so on. But these are, like I said, these are old stories. Yeah. I mean, we think about Brer Rabbit and so on as old stories, but Uncle Wiggily, I mean, we don't hear those stories much anymore. You can still find those books, though. Yeah, actually kind of interesting. Brer Rabbit and Brer Fox, and Brer Bear. Yeah, I'll have to look those. Those would be kind of interesting. I wonder if the copyrights expired on those. I bet well, it's hard to say because they're old folk tales. Somebody who wrote them down the first time might have copyrighted that written version, so it might still be copyrighted. That's the thing about these stories that I'm telling. Originally in Japanese, somebody translated them into English, so English is actually copyrighted. Could have expired. Yeah, it could have. It's hard to say, when those stories were written down. I mean, it seems like, like my mother grew up with those stories. But again, the question is the version that is in print now that we could find, is that copyrighted or not? Right, that's what I do. So these stories that I'm telling, I'm not reading them straight from the book that I found. The book that I found a couple of books. One of them has both the Japanese and the English versions, right? And so I kind of look at the Japanese and I look at the English, and then I make my own interpretation. The English helps me a lot. It does a lot of the work for me, but then I tweak it here and there, change some things about the way they translated some of the things from Japanese into English and so on. So that kind of makes it mine, right? So I should be avoiding any copyright problems that way, because I'm using their translation just as a reference. I never read exactly what they have written there. So there's a guy on YouTube that a layman's view of the old folk tales. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, layman's folk tales. Yeah. There's a guy on YouTube called Mr. Ballen, Ballen, and he tells all these kind of strange stories, like people that go missing, or strange ways that people have died, or strange things where like a person will disappear and then a short time later they'll appear again, miles and miles away, a distance that they were in. For example, a child or something like that, there's no way that child could have traveled there on their own, but there's no real explanation. They can't find an explanation of how the child got there. Different kind of stories like that. And so he has all these sources, and he does what I do. He takes the source story, which is based on a news story, right? But somebody has written it up, and then he kind of rewrites it into his own words, and then speaks that on the internet. So so I've kind of copied his format to a certain extent, in that all I do is it's just me on the camera. Yeah, he presents it from a journalistic point of view. Well, actually, there's a guy that has written, I can't remember, this Mr. Ballen guy talks about a couple of books. Some guy's written, like missing from, like the American East Coast, American West Coast, American Midwest, all these, all these people that have just gone missing, all these, these like unsolved missing person cases and so on, for one reason or another, are really really strange and so on. And I think the guy has a series from Europe and so on, but this Mr. Ballen, I guess, basically focuses on America. And so he uses that guy. That guy has gone from the news sources and written up kind of a journalistic, a story. And then Mr. Ballen reads that story and puts it into his own words, which is kind of cool. I like that. But let's see, what else is going on here in the world? Not too much, I guess. Get rid of that thing. Okay. But it looks sure like you are my only viewer, or at least the only one on Haps that can interact with me. I just kind of did that with a kid's book on positivity. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great thing to do. And in a lot of ways, I think, that's can be better, or at least valuable in different ways, as opposed to just listening to the audio book or something like that, right? Or somebody just reading the book word for word, because I'm here enjoying the stories. Okay, cool. Welcome. There's a book from England called The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Hound. And I did it my way for a girl. Yeah, there you go. Yes, welcome from Pakistan. Yes. Well, welcome to Pakistan. Welcome to all people from Pakistan. Yes. If by retelling the story in our own words, it's what we choose to focus on, or kind of the message that we find within it, which may be different than the message someone else finds within the same story, and so on. I just need to do the illustrations. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I tell you, if I could draw, I think that I would do a lot of things. But I mean, I draw stick figures and people can't figure out what I'm trying to draw. I mean, is that supposed to be a person? Is that a cow or a rhinoceros or what? I can't draw. One thing I've noticed about my Japanese students is the large majority of my Japanese students can draw. I don't know if they grow up with this high level Japanese anime, this is what they're surrounded with every day, really high quality, illustration, the anime on television, and then manga. They use that word in America now, don't they? Manga, the Japanese comic books are called manga. Generally the Japanese comic books are thick. They're like, they're kind of like the old pulp, yes, the comics, right? Yeah, the manga. I can draw buildings because that's math and straight lines. I can't even draw straight lines. I mean, even with a ruler, it's a challenge for me to try and draw a straight line. Yeah, I'm in bad shape when it comes to drawing. Yeah, I mean, when it comes to being artistic, I can write a little bit, although my problem with writing, be it prose or poetry, fact or fiction, I'm never satisfied with what I've written. I mean, people will read it and say, "Oh, this is good. This is okay," but I'm never satisfied with it. And so, one story, it's just, I'm never done with the editing process. Other thing, music, I played keyboards when I was young, and I played the bass guitar, and so on. Drums just a little bit, different things like that. But I can play some tunes, to for my own enjoyment, but nobody's going to want to sit and listen to me, that's for sure. That's another thing. If I could play music well, I would do a broadcast. If I had any kind of creative ability as far as being able to write, if I could write even simple songs, if I could play them decently, I would just be putting out music all the time. I think that would be a lot of fun. Got a friend of mine that's the guitar player. I keep in the same one, the friend of mine that we do the Layman's Philosophy together, Jeff Morrow. He's a guitar player. Musicians and artists cannot teach. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, those that can do, those that can't teach. Yeah. Yeah, but my friend, yeah, he's a guitarist, and he writes music a little bit also. I keep encouraging him to be putting out stuff on Haps. I think he could get himself a following. He's played in bands in America. I mean, nothing big, just little local, thing, groups, local venues and so on. But like playing in nightclubs and stuff like that. But yeah, he's a decent guitar player. Not really high level, but he's a decent guitar player and a decent songwriter. So yeah, it'd be nice if he would do some things with that. I keep encouraging him, but I think he feels kind of like me with my writing. It's he never has confidence. It's like, it's good enough for me, but I don't know about putting it out there. At least not on his own. He had that confidence when he had his group with him. He'll do it when he's ready. Yeah, Well, I mean, he's 50. What is he? 58 years old now, so he better get ready pretty quick here. um, but yeah, when he had his, when he was writing music for his band, or the band that he was in, again, then he was getting feedback from them, and they were helping him write and making suggestions for changes and so on, and so even though he was the main writer, at least he was getting feedback, feedback all the time from his other group members. They've been having Friday night karaoke nights, and sometimes you can play your own stuff. Oh, cool. Yeah, all right. Well, okay. That's what I'll do. Here we go. All right. It's karaoke night. Let's play. There we go. That's my original composition. I don't know. That's kalimba. I just like the sound of this thing. Everybody knows kalimba now, right? The kalimba, African thumb piano, right? Anyway, I just like the sound of that. I don't know how to play it, and it's not in tune. I mean, I'm sure that it's way out of tune by now. I don't have patience to tune it. Actually, I've seen the thing. You actually use a little hammer to hammer these things, because you slide the metal prongs up and down in order to adjust the tuning and so on. Yeah, so the Hugh Tracy kalimba. And this is a traditional African musical instrument. Anyway, so now, yeah, that's me. That's not your doorbell. But anyway, that kalimba. I've had this since I was in college. So this kalimba, it's an antique. It's must be 40 years old by now, I would say. Yeah, maybe more. It's at least 40 years old, I would say. I just always brought it with me. I can't do anything with it. It's like, oh, I remember it wasn't all that expensive when I bought it. But now I've looked for something similar, and they're gotten quite a bit more expensive. Everything has, I guess, over the course of 4 years. But yeah, I enjoy picking around with it. I kind of like the instruments like this. Got to figure out how to use the holes in the back. So on. I like xylophones. Xylophones are cool too. I've always been fascinated by those the steel kettle instruments, whereas Trinidad and Tobago or something like that, where they do that. Yeah, that's great, great, great. Yeah, and it's so funny. I mean, now it's become a real art form. And I mean, they started out really with leftover steel drums, the old oil barrels or whatever that were discarded, and they would turn them over, cut them in half, and shape them into something that they could play music on. I mean, that's pretty impressive. I would love to see somebody do that. To be there as they're creating that. And that's a special kind of artistry right there. I mean, it's like a violin maker or something like that. I mean, they take something, in a rough form that whether it's wooden strings or a hunk of piece of a discarded oil barrel or whatever, and by manipulating it and so on, they have the knowledge and the skills. I mean, not only the mind and the ability in their ears, but also the manual dexterity in order to be able to create that. I mean, that's pretty impressive to me. It'd be a lot of fun to do. It's funny how each culture has some sort of musical sound. Yeah, I mean, music. Yeah, you can't pull anyway. You can't pull humans away from their music, right? We got to have music. I mean, if nothing else, we'll bang on stuff, just to make a rhythm, to make drum sounds or whatever. We gotta have our music. Can't take our music away from us. You know. I mean, even people that aren't musical still enjoy music. Even people that aren't musical will still sing in the shower, sing to themselves, or whistle, or like I said, tap a beat on their desk or something. We got to have our music. I think that's where that comes from. That's a very interesting idea. Why is music? I mean, what kind of evolutionary advantage was there to music? Music and dancing. Yeah, music and dancing. Yeah. Yeah, I guess, the music, originally it's going to be singing, right? Singing would probably be the origin, and then probably drumming or rhythm, beating on something would probably be the first instruments. Chanting. Yeah, chanting. Yeah. I start out beating on drums, and then you got different sizes of drums, so they give out different tones as you hit them, and then you arrange them in a certain, you hit them in a certain order, and you can play a melody. Yeah, I could see how it developed. But why are we so drawn to that? Is what's interesting. I mean, seeing it develop, I mean, that all makes sense, but why it has such an appeal to us? I don't see, most of the things that we have developed, there's some kind of evolutionary advantage to them, right? Why is music such a strong influence? Anything mimicking birds or something? I mean, yeah. So like yeah, I think mimicking birds or something. I mean, yeah, you hear birds sing, and people. I mean, could be birds singing, or it could just be the fact that we notice that different people's voices sound differently. This person speaks in a low voice and this person speaks in a higher voice, and then you hear them, juxtapositioned against each other, right? And then somebody else called in and said, oh, it's like, you could see the notes coming out of that, right? Or even one person can change the tone when they speak. And like you're talking about, like you said, chanting, comes from that. Whatever. So from chanting to music, like you can see how that could develop naturally and so on. But why? I mean, yeah, it developed because we enjoy it. But why do we enjoy it? Why, what is it about music that we enjoy? I mean, why should that stimulate play? I mean, other things, like things that we eat. Okay, so we like sweet things. Why? Well, because in our evolutionary history, sweet things, that sweetness is an indication of greater amounts of energy, more calories in that food. And for a large part of human history, people have been struggling to get enough energy. It's just recently that we get, too much energy, start putting on weight and so on. But for most of human history, the struggle has been to find enough energy. And so if we find a food that is high in energy, right? It's sweet, it has a lot of sugars in it. Now we're motivated to eat that. We develop a liking for that, and that people that like sweet, high energy foods are more likely to to have more energy and more likely to reproduce and so on. So that makes sense. But why music? So men that are good singers are more likely to have, to be able to reproduce more or something like that. But again, why would women be what is it about a singing voice? I mean, I find this question about about songs and so on, right? I mean, they use the bird songs to communicate. They use the bird songs as part of mating and so on. The singing and dancing and so on. Dancing makes more sense because dancing, I mean, that's a physical activity. So it demonstrates coordination, it demonstrates stamina and so on through these, animal, ritual dancing and so on are quite elaborate, quite strenuous and so on. And so that demonstrates, certain abilities, certain physical abilities. But singing or music, that's I just it's not that it's not there, it's just that that's a gap in my knowledge as to why that would play into humans evolving. Yeah, I don't know either. Just kind of interesting. But I mean, absolutely, music is universal. I mean, drums, chanting, singing, just every society. I don't know every society, but majority of society. A cat's purring is soothing. Maybe it started out as soothing. Yeah. Yeah. Start out as soothing. But why should that sound be soothing? I mean, so I mean, we're attracted to things like, I mean, most people enjoy things like the sound of waves, or the sound of a stream flowing, right? The babbling brook, that kind of sound is pleasant to us. Why? Attract us toward water. Water was important, and so I don't know. I'm just wondering how that kind of got started, that this was something that was valuable. So this is important. This is valuable. So we want to be attracted to it. And so we make it a pleasant experience. Talking about evolutionary biology here, and I'm less than a layman in that area. So I guess might as well be quiet about that. Yeah. Just interesting to think about. So what else is going on in the world? So let's see. Japan is still way behind most of the world. No one else showed up. Yeah, no one else showed up. Yeah. I don't always have broadcasts at this time. I usually do. Usually this is probably my second most common time to have a broadcast. The Wednesday thing is almost always, but this time is pretty common. But I guess it happened the last time. I think last week or the week before. Yeah, I started this and I was on for an hour and a half, and then finally people started showing up. It just must be the timing. It's Friday evening where you guys are, right? So what, East Coast, it must be like 11 o'clock at night. Even the West Coast, it's what, 8 o'clock or something. Yeah, I guess not. I mean, yeah, Friday. Shit, if I had a life, I wouldn't be home on Friday night. No, I mean, I don't know. But at least, yeah, I showed my little clip of my psychedelic chroma key using OBS Studio, which was one of the main things that I wanted to do. Using that. I didn't do it live though. I made a recording within OBS Studio with that green screen background, and then just shared that video here. The next step is, like I said, to actually do live stream with the green screen background in the background. Yeah, it is kind of cool. I like it. Yeah, I just found that a non-copyrighted or a Creative Commons video loop that I put in the background, and then with that green screen, it made me seem to be kind of floating in that psychedelic background. So it was kind of fun. It made me feel kind of good that I was able to figure out how to do that. Like I said, even an old dog can learn some new tricks every once in a while, I guess. Yeah. Well, I think you're going to go and get dinner. Okay, that sounds like a reasonable idea. It's about lunchtime here, so I think I will. I've been on for an hour, and yeah, I think I've just about talked myself out without my game to talk about. I am stretching myself a little thin here. So thanks, Cher, and thank you, Happy Gora, for dropping in. I do appreciate it, and thank you for the award again. Appreciate that also. Yeah, maybe I'll try again this time tomorrow. We'll see how things go. If not, my usual time on your Tuesday evening, I'll definitely be here. Okay, thanks. Bye-bye.